Okay, you guys. Oh, be so nice. Share the live.
Hey,
Hello.
hi there. How's it going?
Hi, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing great, Megs. Thanks so much for making time.
Well, here's the thing. I'm absolutely thrilled, delighted, and a little bit fangirling about the fact that you are
Oh,
right here next to me. By way of introduction, everyone, this is Eric, and he is the CEO and co founder of Karat. In
that's right.
addition to co founding Karat, which we are going to ask you a little bit more about, you have been an advisor with VidCon,
Yes.
involved in Instagram for a while in kind of like a big way, and also can we start with a little bit of levity? Can I hear your impression of the Harvard Yard?
The Harvard Park, the car at Harvard Yard. Yes, I did go to Harvard. That was a particularly difficult and challenging part of my life, but we did do it. Yes.
So it's something that we look back on with gratitude and then we look forward.
Exactly.
Stressful there. Well, Eric, thank you again. Is this your first foray into favorited? That was a lot of F's from
Yes,
you.
it is. But so for those of you joining, as Meg so delightfully introduced me, I run a company today called Carrot that helps creators with their finances. Before that, though, I worked at Instagram where I actually helped build Instagram Live. So, Meg, to answer your question, this is my first time here on Favorited, but I've been live streaming like this. I mean, I was on Instagram Live in like 2017 because we literally helped build the feature in the very beginning.
You're an old hand, I mean, as for a young person. So I have to thank you again for your time. I've got some questions that I wanted to touch on for sure, but ultimately, I know that you really value authenticity and
Yeah,
connecting with creators, and so I just wanted to ask you, I guess, a little bit of a break the ice question,
of
more for
course.
my enjoyment than yours. I hope this does not make you feel uncomfortable, but there's a little game
Go
we
for it.
play here on Favorited with our Favorited Favorites fandom, and this is the app for people who love to love, and we love gangsters. Oh, geez, original gangsters. So I want to know, Eric, what your gangster name is. Now, if you're not sure what it is,
Gosh, wow.
it's little or big, followed by the last thing you spent money on.
The last thing I spent money on was definitely a Chipotle bowl. So I think that makes me Lil Chipotle. You
How
know, and
about little
I own
Tex-Mex?
it. Absolutely. I eat two Chipotle bowls a day. It's great. I'm absolutely terrible at cooking. And you're tired and you don't have time. Chipotle's not a bad option.
Oh, no, it's not. I mean, of the fast foods, it's one of the healthier options. Do you get the
That's
chicken
right.
or do you get the steak?
So I actually get a salad with extra chicken, lettuce, black beans, and
Black.
usually nothing else. I try to stay clean,
No
try to keep it
rice.
simple.
Yeah.
Usually not rice. Usually not rice either.
Do you do a salad dressing on your Chipotle bowl?
No salad dressing. Just do it raw.
He's a purist, ladies and
That's
gentlemen,
right.
a purist. Thank you so
Chicken and
much.
beans. Yum.
Lil Chipotle Bowl, if you are okay with us referring you to that,
Yeah.
I'm sure
I
it will
was
not
born
follow
for the
you.
name. Little Chipotle. I love it
Little
already.
Chipotle, little Tex-Mex. I love it. Okay, well, let's go ahead and dive in. I did give the audience a little bit of a teaser about what we were going to be talking about,
Sweet.
but again, so you're with Carrot. Can you just share with us the
Yeah.
core mission of Carrot and how it addresses the unique financial challenges that creators
Totally.
like us face in accessing credit and getting, managing that
Yeah.
unpredictable income?
So I co-founded Carrot 6 years ago because I had so many creator friends working on Instagram who didn't know how to pay their taxes, build their credit, or like get a mortgage. And I wanted to figure out a way to help. I think a great example is we work with a streamer named Ludwig, who's one of the biggest streamers on Twitch today. And during 2020, he was live streaming 24/7. He was trying to buy things, and I saw live on stream his credit card was getting declined. And that's because somebody like Ludwig, even though he makes millions of dollars, a normal bank doesn't understand what he does. A normal bank, Megs, doesn't understand what you do or what so many of the people here on Favorite watching right now are because you figure
Right,
out a way to support yourself making content, and that's cool. But normal financial institutions are expecting you that you're just working for giant corporations. So
right.
they don't know how to give you credit. They don't know how to work with you. Is I'm sitting here at Instagram saying, wow, oh my gosh, creators are absolutely blowing up. I want to figure out how to help them from business financial POV. And before Instagram, I actually used to work in investment banking on Wall Street. So I was like, all right, there's something I could do here. And so 6 years ago, we launched our first product. It was a business credit card, but we based the limits and rewards not just off your credit score, but off of your social stats. because I said, hey, this is a really relevant metric to you as a business.
So is Carrot a bank?
So we're partnered with banks in the same way that companies like Chime, Current, Venmo, Robinhood are, where we've built this product on top of a real bank.
So, a creator right now, to get a traditional mortgage, you're going to go provide your tax returns, which you're trying to write everything off, so you're not going to show income there. Or
Right.
they're going to use a system like Plaid, where they're going to just look at your deposits and they're going to look at your liquidity. And if, again, you're writing things off or you're moving things around and you've got your personal and business accounts intermingled, it's very difficult to find that financing. So, the
Yeah.
fact that you look at social stats, are you going to look at
S-
trending stats? Are you going to look at, a lot of our creators here are brand new to the business and they only
Right.
have 4, 5, 6 months to show for that. How much of that weighs in your financial
Yeah.
decisions on what
I
products you
mean,
can offer them?
that's enough for us to start working with you. So we have a business credit card as well as a business bank account where both of them we give you more rewards based on the fact that you're a creator and you have social stats. And to answer your question, right? The way to think of it is if you're growing as a business, right? Any bank should want to work with you, give you credit, bank you as a creator. Your number of customers you have is completely tied to the number of followers you have.
Right. Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so looking at your stats, you're just using followers as customers. Your basic. I mean, I kind of this is probably a terrible analogy, but for those that kind
Please.
of speak Megs, the sharks, right? When people go and present their business and they're giving the stats, and a lot of the stats just don't ping the interest of the sharks like certain things do. So if we say that your create or your followers are, thank you, bus driver, are your clientele, that it's a
Yeah.
very firm way to see how your business has been growing.
Yeah, that's
However,
exactly right. And
yeah.
people often ask, well, what's wrong with how banks do it today? So your credit score is this thing called FICO. People don't realize FICO used to be an acronym. It stood for the Fair and Isaac Company because it was invented in the 1950s by these two guys, one named Fair, one named Isaac. The Fair and Isaac Company, they said, let's come up with this way of measuring people's credit worthiness that everybody's still using 70, 80 years later. I mean, the internet didn't even exist when they developed the way to measure
Right.
your credit history. So how could it possibly be accurate for what you do today, especially if you're a content creator? So my co-founder and I, we basically said, all right, let's go build a financial system that understands creators. And step one of that, to your point, was let's build a better way of underwriting them that incorporates things relevant about them, like, yes, social stats.
Okay, I love it. So this is a very much, you guys, a conversation with regards to all things social media and creators, very specifically towards the financial goals that you may have and setting you up for success. With regard to, most of our creators, well, I'm making a generalization, but the majority of the
Yeah.
creators are at Favorited. Of course, Favorited is in beta and we're new, but there are a lot of creators here going live for the first time, just establishing their brands, trying to find their foothold and make some fame to their name before we launch worldwide. So, for a creator starting
Hmm.
out on platforms like Favorited or YouTube, what like practical financial advice would you give them from like day one to treat their
Absolutely.
content, their as a business and not
Yes,
just
I
I'm
think
going
there's
live?
Yes, I think there are three important things, right? The first thing is, as you allude to, it's a mindset change. A lot of people start doing content for fun, and that's totally okay. But when you're ready to start developing it into a business, you need to think about not just, oh, how many followers am I getting, but how am I going to monetize this? Which, of course, could be through brand deals, could be through gifts on favorited gifting, could be by developing your own products and services that you're upselling toward. I think the first thing is you need to treat it seriously in your mind. Hey, I'm a business. The second thing is then you want the eyes of the government to understand that as well. And so for a while as a creator, you can just be unincorporated. That means that you're making money on content and you can still write it off on your tax return, but you're not actually a legal entity. And
Right.
that's a problem because if anything ever happens from a legal POV, like anybody decides to take legal action against you for your work as a creator, they can go after you personally. So then you have to actually set up an LLC. You want to be properly set up and incorporate it. And the third thing, after the mindset shift, after setting up an LLC, the third thing is you want to set up a business bank account and a business credit card. Because people don't realize this, even if you have an LLC, legally, you're not protecting your personal assets until you've also separated out your finances. And when
Right.
you set up a business bank account, not only have you protected yourself legally, you also can now track everything you spend on for the business that you can then use to get tax write offs later. Like if you're a creator, so much of what you do you can write off, right? Like your camera equipment, easy. Your software. right? If Megs and I go get lunch and we get a meal, we can write that off as a business expense too. But it's really hard to do if you don't have a business bank account. And so that's why, according to those three steps, that's where my company, Karat, focuses on the third one. We'll set you up as a creator with your first business bank account and a business credit card, customized for you.
I love that. The number two that you were just touching on, like setting up as an LLC, you
Yeah.
guys also kind of offer advice with regards to setting that up, don't you?
Yes, we have partners where we give you discounts who can do that for you. And a lot of people don't realize they have questions like, hey, like, where should I set up my LLC? Should I do it where I live? Why don't I do it in Delaware? Why don't I do it in Wyoming? Or, hey, what address do I put down? And hey, what's the difference between a regular LLC and an S Corp? And
Hmm.
Meg's happy to go into all of those if you think those are questions of interest.
Well, let's table it for a second. But I
Yeah.
do want everyone to know, I personally started working with Carrot. I don't have my business account set up yet, but I've attended some of the meetings and presentations,
Yeah. In our,
and
in
I
our
have
Carrot Creator Discord, we have a community, right, where you've joined where we host creator masterclasses.
exactly.
Yes.
They're incredible. They're weekly. I've attended four of them, I
Oh
think,
my
and
gosh.
I have to
Thank you.
tell you that the most engaging and wonderful creators that you interview are just delightful. But I've learned so much just from the business act. I've been in business for, as long
Thank
as I
you.
was walking, right? But that
Yeah.
it's completely different business. It is not mortgages, it is not banking, it is a completely different business. And the fact that you recognize that and you've built this company that speaks social media,
Yes.
right? I'm just delighted. So a plug for Carrot, their personal experience, and of course
No,
Eric is a
I
darling.
love that. And I'll add on, I would say more important than anything is just figuring out as a creator, how do you make good content? How do you build your following? How do you make money? And so to your point, yeah, that's exactly why we made this Discord, where for those of you, you can go check it out, right? You can get there through the link in bio on my website and click on the Discord section. Every week we host a creator talking through literally how they did it. Hey, here's how I got my first brand deal. Here's how I started live streaming. Here's how I got gifting. Here is how I figured out what content to do. Because like,
Right.
I don't know, as a creator, you're kind of not really having coworkers in the traditional sense. So a lot of it is like you got to find your own community.
You've got to find it, you've got to speak to it, you've got to be authentic to yourself and not have pressure that if you're not getting everyone's attention immediately, you're doing it wrong. It's just you've got to hike gorgeous Ray, you've got to be patient with it. Speaking of though, here's the thing. Favorite it is my first kind of big push in social
Amazing.
media, right? But
Yeah.
I don't like Duck Race is a creator here who is really big on TikTok. And one thing he says all the time that I love to quote is be successful everywhere. So
Yeah.
you came from Instagram, right? Any kind of advice for how did I worded this so well in my notes? Practical
Yeah.
advice, right, to help us treat other platforms as individual as they
Yes.
need to be, but still like building out everywhere. We don't want to just stick with one lane, right?
I love that. Every platform is different. So let's go through Instagram, favorited, YouTube. Let's start with Instagram. Instagram, what they do differently than anybody else is the DMs. So, of course, there's Reels where you have short form content you can get discovered. People find it, then they go to your profile to get a sense of who they are. But what Instagram does uniquely is everybody gets to know each other and does business through the DMs. So, when you're a creator on Instagram, a lot of what you're thinking about when you build your following is how do I upsell them and get them to my direct messages? That's why I see so many people that post things. You'd be like, hey, I want to share with you a free guide on, for example, how to handle taxes as a creator. Comment taxes to get it. They comment taxes. Now you're in a DM thread with them where you can develop the relationship with them. And that's important for networking opportunities. It's important if you want to upsell them to different products and services you do. Think about it, right? Other platforms like YouTube, do they have DMs? Not really. TikTok, do they have DMs? Kinda, but not really. And so Instagram, think of it as, oh, it's all around DMs and community, right? That's Instagram. Now let's talk about YouTube. Think of YouTube almost like it's TV. On TV, there's a bunch of channels you go through where people are broadcasting out the shows they want to do. That's YouTube. You go on YouTube when you're like, hey, I want to put forth my little media show where every week you get to tune in and watch my channel, but be aware it's a channel. That means there's not that much back and forth community engagement like you have with Instagram. And it means people don't just expect short form, they also expect long form. Short form is almost just the ad to go and watch the long form video on your
Right,
channel,
right,
right? Now
right.
look at favorited. Favorited is something really unique. It's a combination of the algorithm that TikTok has, but also live streaming, which came from Twitch and is the best of both worlds. Live streaming is great for building close engagement with your community, and that's how your community can support you with gifts and donations. But on Twitch, the discoverability is shit. nobody can
Terrible.
actually find you. And on
Terrible.
TikTok, the algorithm's really good at helping you get found, but then, oh, cool, they see you for 5 seconds and it's gone.
Yeah.
So, favorited, you think of it as the platform as, yeah, I want to stream, I want to build my community, but I also want there to be an easy way for them to find me. And that's why I think favorite is really uniquely well.
Agreed. I think that favorited, of course, as we still grow, will get better and better, and that algorithm gets
Yeah.
honed in. But the fact that there is one that you're not broadcasting just to the ether, like in Twitch. Zach had said last week that two of the biggest Twitch creators ever stood up and said they broadcasted to nobody, 0 views for two
For
years.
years.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's like a story. Everyone's been through it. And, now there's a better way.
a better way, a favorite way. What? Stop it. Let's go. Okay, so you have said that the creator trust, we touched about this, creator trust and authenticity and
Yeah.
education, right? Education for creators is critical. So using our authenticity to create our content to build trust with our audience, how can that help us with engaging with each other and even maybe nabbing those important brand partnerships that you've mentioned a few times?
Yeah, I always think of it as when you're making content, why are people watching you? Right? Who is your ideal viewer? Because it's really easy and tempting today when algorithms are driving anything to, oh, let me just post a bunch of stuff and cool, I got a bunch of views. But Megs, I can't tell you how many creators I've seen who just fall into this trap of endlessly chasing views over and over. And sometimes the algorithm hits and sometimes it doesn't. And it's like you're
Right,
playing the lottery. And when you don't have any sense of whether you're making good content other than just are people watching,
right,
that's really scary. And so you internally have to get a sense this is what my channel is going to be about. Like, for example, for Carrot, I host this YouTube channel where I do podcasts where a lot of really, really big creators and streamers. And I have this ideal viewer in my mind. It's a early stage beginning creator that wants to learn, yes, how did these massive creators tactically succeed? Like what they do to get where they're at, but also get a little bit of emotional support and understanding on, hey, their journey wasn't always this easy. It was hard for them. And if they went through it, then I can go through that too. That's very, very specific. And it guides every single piece of content I put out there. And so I think it's really important to that authenticity piece. Before you can be authentic with your audience, you need to be authentic with yourself. And that's important because then when you're monetizing, you want to do so in ways that continue to build your authenticity. Look at it this way. All of us, if we had a social media following, could go and promote and sell whatever. But if it's not the right product or service, it actually gets us dollars, but decreases the social credibility we
right,
have. And so
right.
ideally, you find a way to monetize where it actually builds and enhances the authenticity you've spent so much time investing in to build.
So you're authentic with yourself. You're providing something of value for your audience, and it's not about the views. It's about what you're actually creating that you
Yes,
can still maintain.
that's right.
You kind of touched on it. So let me get a little bit deeper. Because we all have a story, and something that you do so well in
Yeah.
your podcast is really kind of getting the story out of the people that you interview. Speak to me about being vulnerable and sharing our
Yeah.
insecurities as we're growing together.
I think it always comes down to why you're doing this. And for me, when I grew up, I always wanted to do something creative. I watched YouTube, but I never thought I was good enough. I was extremely terrified of doing something so unrisky and uncertain and putting myself out there. And so I grew up thinking, oh, I'm just going to have to go get a normal job. And so, yes, to your initial joke, I went to Harvard, I studied finance, I graduated, I worked in investment banking. And I realized one day, oh my God, I'm so depressed. I hate this because none of this is aligned with what I want. And it doesn't matter how much money you make if it's not aligned with what you care about. And so I spent years trying different jobs. And when I was at Instagram, saw so many creators like yourself now succeeding, being like, gosh, that seems like the best job in the world to make content and express yourself creatively, but also find a way to support yourself. And so, even knowing that, I found it really, really hard to quit Instagram and go and try and work with creators. I didn't know if it was going to work. And even to this day, I still remain scared. Carrot, we've been around for 6, 7 years. We help thousands of creators with their finances. But there's always that deep little fear. If you're putting yourself out there in public, oh no, what if I fail? In which case, I would say that's in some ways what makes it interesting and what it makes it worth doing.
Yeah.
A failure you have in private doesn't really even matter at all. To risk anything is the risk of failing publicly. It means you're building something new that is worthwhile that people might gravitate toward, whether it's a company or whether it's content. And so the way I think of it, it's that I remain worried and scared and anxious about all the things that can go wrong, but I remind myself this is the choice I took. to also get the chance to do interesting things. And I think as a creator, when you're first posting, you're putting things into the void, into the ether. You're not sure if people are watching. You have to remember that you're taking a risk and it might not work, but that is precisely what makes it worth trying.
Everyone loves an underdog story. Nobody wants to look at the flawless, perfect person and
Totally.
say, I want to be like that because they think it's impossible because it is. No one is perfect, right? But
Mm,
there is a balance, right? We can't okay, let me ask you then I'll ask you the
yeah,
question.
of
How
course.
would our creators who do want to be authentic and still show their vulnerability and insecurities keep the balance between going completely off script and falling apart on live and being a hot
Yeah.
mess and still being polished and professional and having a stream of value,
Yeah.
right? There's got to be a way to do both and not go too far in either direction, right?
Yeah, I think there's really two key things, I think, when it comes to this. The first, it's all about appropriate levels of vulnerability, right? Think of it in real life. If you're meeting somebody for the first time, you start with small talk. You get to know each other before the trauma dump, right? Maybe
Right.
that comes years
If
through
it's
the
like the
friendship,
first trauma dump thing, you're like,
but
okay,
it's a
do I have
lot.
time for this kind of friend? Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a lot. And so what I say is because I think so many people think it's one or the other. It's so I'm always going to see surface level and they're never going to get to know me, or I need to tell you every single bit of trauma and insecurity I have from the start. And I think the answer is somewhere in between, where is you build rapport with a person in real life is the same way you build rapport with your audience, where progressively you begin to share more and more. But you always have to ask yourself, hey, what I've shared online, is this something that I'm okay saying from my family, friends, and everyone who knows me in the real life and telling it to them to their faces? And there might be
Right.
things that you want to share that you get to share, and there might be things that you never really want to. So I think the first thing is that level of being appropriate. I think the second is being transparent on how you balance the authenticity with the business side. For example, if you're a creator now you need to monetize and you're like, hey, like just be honest about it. Here's a brand. I'm working with it. I believe in it to be clear, but I also need this to support myself. So I got to keep doing this. Hey, I'm streaming here on Favorited. I would really appreciate gifting. One, because I truly care about you. And I think this is a way that we get to build a relationship. But two, also, this is how I make a living. And so I think it's important not only to be thoughtful about the appropriate level of authenticity, but also just to be transparent that hey, like we're also doing this to support ourselves too. And I
Right.
think that honesty is, in a weird way, what makes people even closer to you.
Well, I agree with you that people when you connect authentically, and one of the really special things here on Favorited is our freedom of speech policy, right? We see
Right.
and do so much more here. We have so many more freedoms here than other live streaming apps. But I think that comes with some danger of feeling too relaxed, too loose. We're wearing yoga pants all the time, and popping in boxes. Doing my own live is one thing, but when I pop in someone else's boxes and we're just having a chit chat, it is easy to forget that it's not a Zoom call and it's not like a family
Totally.
chat, and there's too much. So it's a good reminder that there is a balance. I would never tell someone to not do or say what they feel they should, but to remember that it is the internet. It's not Vegas. It's not going to stay here. It's going everywhere, baby. Going
Great
everywhere.
way to consider
Right?
it. Yeah. What comes here is going to go everywhere.
It's going to go everywhere. We're screen recording as we speak, YouTube star. Okay, going back to YouTube though, we have data that we can look at as creators. In YouTube, there's analytic reports. We're building
Hmm.
analytics here at Favorited. How can creators use data like analytics to hone in our audience, kind of look at our financial metrics, make
Yeah.
decisions about how we need to move forward? How important are those analytics in your mind?
So important. It's actually a feature we're building at Carrot. If you set up a business bank account with us, we're also going to offer AI powered insights on your finances because I've worked with so many creators who have no idea what they're spending and making. And if you don't know what you're spending and making as a creator, it restricts your ability to try different forms of content because you're sitting there and you're like, hey, I'd like to try a new type of video. Or like, can I afford to hire an editor?
Right.
Or hey, can I invest that time in building out my own line of products? If you don't know how much you're making and spending, all of that becomes impossible. And I remember working with one creator who's huge on YouTube and told me for years he actually didn't realize that a lot of his videos he was losing money on because he was spending more on setting them up than he was actually making. And
Right.
so to answer your question, I think creators already know, hey, I've got to track my social stats. I want to see how many people are following me. I want to see how many views I'm getting. I want to see the engagement. But so many creators aren't also tracking their finances and tying the two together. And that's a feature that our product's going to build when you bank with us.
So I love that because here's the thing. We call it sprinkle twinkle around here, but we love to take the gifts that
Nice.
we received and we go and we sprinkle them and twinkle them out to other people. And some of us are terrible CEOs. Please do not let us be CEOs of anyone else's business because they're going to blow them up, okay? Because here's the thing. We spend more than we make and we don't realize it because maybe we're not cashing it out. Maybe we're mingling our business and our personal funds together.
That's
So
right.
the imperative nature of tracking that and having the data at your fingertips so that you can actually see. And I'm a big proponent, you guys, of when you end your live, you take that screenshot, that snapshot, and you track it. How long were you on? What time of day? What did you do? And see what was maybe different today than yesterday when you did better or not as good. So definitely those analytics make a big difference for me. But I do appreciate the help with the financial aspect because I'm a big old solar sprinkle twinkler. Um,
Totally.
okay, so I wanted to touch on my excellent brother about VidCon. So you have been
Yeah.
an advisor with VidCon for a long time, right?
That's right. Zach and I became advisors of VidCon around the same time for years.
And is that how you and Zach met?
Actually, Zach and I met because we around LA kept running into each other at different creator events. I think a huge thing when you're creators to try and find your community is to go out into the real world where you think other folks might be. And Zach and I really just like understood each other at a very deep level. Both of us are in this industry not only for the business opportunity, but because, gosh, like it's the coolest thing in the world, as I said before, getting to work with people who found a way to make a living from content. Like
Right.
to be creative professionally is really inspiring. And so the two of us started spending a lot of time together, and we actually played a lot of pickleball together. Was how we really got to know each other. I
Okay,
also,
all right. We're getting some personal details here.
yeah, and in fact, we are Karat. We are hosting a pickleball creator invitational event the Tuesday before VidCon in Los Angeles. That we'll be sharing details very shortly on our Instagram because it's just such an organic way to get to know people better. As I say, Zach initially met in the professional capacity, but then we have played pickleball. We've roomed together. And yes, we've started to collaborate together from a professional POV too. We've hosted VidCon panels together and also obviously, if you're a favorite creator, you actually have special perks when you sign up for Carrot as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna before we let you go, we're gonna get all the details about how we can sign up for Carrot or at least get more information. Contact you with more
Yeah,
information about Carrot. But staying on the VidCon because I'm so
yeah.
looking forward to meeting you in the flesh next week, a week from today,
Likewise.
my friend.
Very
Um,
soon.
so VidCon, of course, it's a hub for creators and for fans and for industry professionals to all mingle together. And as an advisor, how do you see VidCon helping the emerging creators like here on Favorited learn and
Yeah.
scale our brand across those platforms? How important is VidCon to
I think
that?
the coolest thing about Favorited and the creators, all of us here, you figured out a new way to do content and monetize that other creators haven't. So first, walk in knowing you have something to add. You can share, hey, I'm on this new platform, Favorited, where I've actually been growing a lot. I'm monetizing because it's a mix of live streaming and the FYP algorithm. That's something really cool where other creators will be like, wow, what's that? And because now you've shared something of value to them and you can answer questions about how to get started on Favorited, now you get to ask them, oh, well, what's the main platform you're on? And what's the strategy you found that works for you there? For instance, we talked about Instagram earlier,
Mhm,
right? Which I
mhm.
said is very community focused. It's all around the DMs. You might want to ask creators, yeah, how do you do DMs with your followers, right? Like, how do you grow? Like, is this you doing it yourself? Do you have a team? Like, do you try and go in depth? I basically think VidCon is a really great way for you to exchange information, for you to share how to grow on Favorite, and for them to share how to grow on other platforms.
I'm really looking forward. I haven't, of course, been before, but I'm really looking forward to connecting with a lot of different creators. I really appreciate how you have described Favorited as someone that has been in the industry for so long, coming into Favorited with this different point of view. It may
Hmm.
be obvious to most. I just hadn't heard it explained that way before, and I love
Yeah.
that this is live streaming with an algorithm
Yes, for the
because it is
discoverability.
unique for
Yes.
discoverability, right? And the fact that we have our little flips, our little stories that eventually will be discoverable will help. But the fact that
Huge.
there is an algorithm here, we know how it works. It is in the basic stages, but it's absolutely, we're transparent. The leadership team, Zach and the team, have let us know how it works and what we can focus on to
That's
ensure
right.
our success. And it's bar none. It's absolutely unparalleled to have something like that with that transparency. So I'm really looking forward to being able to walk into VidCon next week and say,
Same.
that I'm primarily streaming on Favorited, which is a live stream app that focuses on content with an algorithm live stream. And I'm looking forward to seeing the kind of the less Botox eyebrows than mine go up. Um, VidCon offers sessions on scaling operations and avoiding missteps. And I just wondered if you could maybe share some of the common mistakes you've seen creators make when we're growing our brands and how some of the resources that we can obtain at VidCon and with Carrot help us avoid these
Yeah.
pitfalls.
I think it comes down to two things. I think the first thing is you got to be clear on, as is before, what type of content works well for you. In the beginning, it's okay to experiment, but you have to be willing to put out content even if it's not getting views. So I'd say the first thing is you should care about views, but don't chase views above everything else because you'll just be miserable. That's the first thing. I think the second thing is, yeah, you should start thinking about monetization early, right? I think the early days of YouTube were just build a bit of following and the brand dollars will come isn't really true anymore. You should know, hey, like here's how I plan to make money. I want to be financially intelligent as well, not just content intelligent.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. With regard to um, with regard to the financial aspect, again, why are we doing this and what our story is? I think a lot of people, especially if you're established on other platforms, come over to Favorited and you go live and you don't have that immediate big push like you get on TikTok, or you don't have the DMs like you do on Insta, and you don't have a way to do a video as long as YouTube, and you're kind of, well, I'm successful everywhere else. Why aren't I successful here at Favorited? And the answer is maybe yet, successful yet, but maybe it's not successful that's measured by the views or the metrics that you're used to measuring, right? Success on Favorited could look completely different. So I love the
Totally.
reminder that it's the rising tide lifts all boats. And as Favorited is getting more and more built out in exposure, and more friends are joining, as long as we are true to our message, right, we should be okay with streaming to a handful of people and not expect the same success from other apps because it's a completely different way of measuring, right?
That's right. You said it so well.
Eric, write that down. Our Eric, I mean, I guess we now have two Erics. What are we gonna? How are we? Okay, Vol Chipotle Bowl. I was not talking to you. Okay, so you have emphasized the importance of talking directly with creators at events like VidCon. Any special stories or stories that you can share of things you've learned from conversations about biggest hurdles about monetizing their content or doing brands or
Yeah.
their own merch?
I think it just so wildly varies from creator to creator. Initially, I expected, oh, with a certain given number of followers, this is how much you make. And in fact, every creator monetizes a little bit differently, depending on the type of content that they make, depending on the platform they're on. Talking to every creator can always learn one thing new. There are creators with millions of followers who will struggle to make, say, $50,000 a year. And there are creators with like 10,000 followers who can make over 100,000, right? And it's all like different models. I think I did a podcast with a business coach named Alex Ramosi recently on our YouTube channel. And he talks about, hey, there's five areas of how different creators can make money. The first is brand deals. The second is affiliate. The third, oop,
Whoops,
I think
there you
I
are.
was making a hand gesture and the camera went off, right?
Oh, are you? Do you have an iPhone?
I do have an iPhone. That's what, oh, I didn't even know it does that. Oh, that's very
Yeah,
cool.
you got to turn your reactions on, but it's the same kind of
That
Discord rule.
makes
Sorry,
sense.
go
But
ahead.
yeah, no, you go from brand deals to affiliate to going and being supported by your own community, like donations and gifting, like what we have here on Favorited, right? To launching your own products and services. It's a little bit different depending on how you want to monetize. And so I think a huge thing is just ask creators, like, literally, how do you make money and what's different from what you do versus what I do?
And most creators are open, especially like, well, if we're going to have a panel, right, they're going to share what they're going to
Yeah.
share. But if you approach somebody, just out of the blue, I appreciate the organic conversation that can be had. And people are they more likely to tell you how they make money as opposed to other industries where it's kind of a taboo subject? How
I
much
think
money do
so,
you make?
100%, because like this is such a new industry. We're all just trying to learn from each other, especially if you have something of value you can share back.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, the give and take. Um, I think I wanted to touch on your profile here at Favorited. You just barely created your account.
Oh
There
yeah,
is the
I
carrot.
literally went on today.
It's the Carrot
Yeah,
website that's there, right?
yeah,
Trycarrot.com. What's your YouTube channel?
yeah. It's literally also Try Carrot, TryKarat, where we've got over 90,000 followers and have interviewed so many top creators. Yeah,
And then you have, okay, so one more question then. We actually haven't, you've mentioned it, but we haven't touched on maybe your opinion on the importance of building your own Discord as a creator or being involved in
yeah.
Discord.
Totally. I think if you're a creator and you're watching this, you want to learn more about Carrot, of course, check out our website, follow us on Instagram. But the biggest thing is join our Discord community because that is where not only you get to meet other creators similar to yourself, the same way you would at VidCon, but virtually, you also get to learn from them because we host classes every single Thursday from creators who've done really spectacular things on how they did it and how you can do it too. And
Yeah.
yes, as a creator, I think you should also go build your own Discord because you want to have a place for them to find you even when you're not necessarily online.
So one of our very first Wisdom Wednesdays, several months ago, we met with a creator called Ryan Golfs, big on TikTok, came over here to
Yeah,
Favorite, and he was the first kind of, I don't know, professional content creator influencer that I had an interview with, and he mentioned specific things like that, like if you have a Discord and all of a sudden TikTok goes dark again on June 19th, how are your fans from TikTok going to find you if they don't know
right.
where else you're streaming, right? So to have that kind of central hub, but again, the issue with a lot of us is not knowing when is a good time to start, what needs to happen in what order, and of course, can we handle all the responsibility of doing all these little things ourselves, and when is an assistant necessary? So it's a little bit of a fine line there with regards to growing everything all at once.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's a hard balance and it's a little bit different for everybody.
Yeah. When you're working with people that you're looking at interviewing and you're trying to connect with new creators, what is your approach? I mean, do you kind of introduce yourself as part of Carrot, or do you kind of lean on your reputation?
I think it's always better to be authentic and first introduce yourself as a person. Similarly as your creator, I think it's important to let them know what you do and the number of followers you have. But it's always better to say, "Hey, I'm so and so, right? It's so good to meet you. I make content about X, Y, Z, right?" And then of course you can share more as the conversation goes on, here's how you monetize, let's exchange socials, see how many followers each person has. I think it's so important though to start with just like, I'm just a human being and like this is why I make content, this is what I do it about.
I love that. I have run into a couple creators that want to give their resume first. Hey, I'm so and so. I'm from TikTok and I have this many followers and I've been streaming this long, and this is what a big deal I am. And really, what I want to know is
Oh,
what's
it
your name? Do
turns
you
them
have kids?
off.
Are you a dog or a cat
Totally.
person? Right?
Yeah,
Makes a big
it's a
difference.
huge turnoff.
Oh, Farid is trying to talk to me. Hold on, Farid, I'm sorry, I'm missing you. We didn't
All
merge
good.
our chat, Eric. Oh, that's my bad, my love. Okay, upper right hand corner. Do you see the little settings wheel up there? Click on that settings wheel,
Oh,
and at the
sure.
very bottom, do you see co-hosting at the bottom? There's receive invites, and then there's merge chat.
Oh, that's cool. I see
I'm
it.
so
Yep.
sorry, Farid. I knew. Oh, we do? Okay. All right, we're past our time, so I'm going to ask you if there's one thing that we haven't touched on. We have 158 MVPs in here. Of course, we have added about 120 followers to your brand new profile. So
Oh,
please, everyone, if
amazing.
you haven't already, give them
Thank
a
you everybody
follow.
so much.
What else would you like to leave our
Just want to
incredible
say,
creators with?
Megs, this is fantastic for all of you watching right now. If you're a creator and you want to learn more about how to grow as a business, join our Discord. It's on our website. If you want to get set up with business banking and credit, also go to our website or just DM me, right? Find me on Favorited, find me on Instagram, and I'll respond. It'll just be me. And I'm just so excited to get to know all of you better. And Megs and Fareed and the favorite team and Zach, thank you so much for hosting me.
We appreciate you tremendously, Eric, and can't wait to get you in the flesh next week. Thank you for all the good you are and the good you do. Thank you, guys. Hey, what's your favorite color,
Thank you.
Eric?
Red and blue.
Red and blue hearts in the chat for our excellent friend here, Eric from Carrot. Thank you again, my friend. Thank you so much. This
Thank
was
you all
awesome.
so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day. Bye.
Bye. Okay, you guys, here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that we need to know as creators, and there's a lot that we don't know that we need to know. So, what a great opportunity to have Eric Wei here from Carrot, Instagram, by way of Harvard Yard, the Pataka. Where is Brockton Magnet Fisher when I need him? To be able to have him here and get some really good information. Yes, VidCon next week, but ultimately, right, why are we here? What is our message? What is it that you do when you stream? Are you just waiting for people to come into your room, and is that your measure of success? Or are you streaming for the love of what it is you're doing? Are you honing your craft? And I love that we were able to connect with Eric, and I'm still kind of, my heart's still kind of, I know that interview was all over the place, but I was seriously fangirling out. He's so awesome. He is so smart, and I'm so grateful for the knowledge dumps.